Finally, the end of chapter 5, the last thing to know and to mention and to describe, or chapter 5, which is AAA, very important thing to know about chapter 5 before we finish it, because in the CCNP you will study the config of the AAA and for further studies also. So AAA, which are authentication, authorization, and accounting, are the three brothers that you will definitely need in your network when it starts to grow and become larger. Because before, what you had is that you implemented some network devices. One moment. Big network like a main router that is connected to some branch routers, and each one of them is connected to a different switch, and those switches are connected to the branch switches, etc. So a lot of devices, a lot of different connections, some redundancy, some not. Big network. Your network will start to grow and become a big network, and despite all the end devices that I have in the row here, there will be a ton of end devices everywhere. And when I say everywhere, they will be everywhere. Believe me, you will see big networks in the future, or you might already have seen. So what AAA does is that they control and they record everything regarding people or devices wants to access or are already accessing all of your network devices. Like in this image I have right now, how many are they? These are maybe 11 network devices, like routers and switches. Also firewalls and wireless switches and multi-layer switches, all of them are wireless switches, wireless devices, and multi-layer switches, all of them are included in this description. Imagine that all of these are described in here. But anyway, what will happen is that you have employees and you have servers, and all of those are end devices, and their job is to access your switches and net or routers to implement a new config, delete an old config, modify, edit, reboot, etc. How to grant an access to all your network engineers and network servers and devices and devices to all of those network devices like routers and switches, etc. You can maybe mention one of the big uses of the AAA is that scenario number one, you can maybe mention you have 20 engineer in your network and 10 servers that needs to access your devices. So now you have 30 end device wants to access all of those, and all of those 30, because of the security programs, must have credentials, and credentials are usernames and passwords, of course with some privileges. So it's either I statically mention the 30 username and password with their privilege inside each of this 11 network device in my network, or I will use one of the big benefits and uses of AAA, which is a radius or attack server, or a AAA server. Don't get confused. A AAA server, like maybe I can connect this AAA server here to this edge switch, this one. Let's extend a long cable to here, and I will build and configure a AAA server. What I will do is that I will not register and assign those 30 credentials for all those 11 devices totally. What I will do is that I will take all of those 30 and I will mention them only inside the AAA server. Starting from now on, whenever someone wants to access any of these devices, the first thing that the device will do is say, hold on, you said that you have the username of ABC and the password of 123 and wants to access me. I have no idea who you are, but I can do one step before I can reply you whether you are welcomed or not, or welcomed under, or you are welcomed under what privilege. And that step is I will contact or I will communicate with the AAA server inside the network, and I will send to him a request including your username and password, and waiting for its reply, and the AAA server reply with that username ABC and password 123 yes is granted to access our network with privilege of 7, which is half privilege, 7 out of 15. Like he can do some things and he can do others inside this specific device. Okay, so this is what happens when we use AAA. We only mention those 30 credentials inside AAA server once, and that's it. AAA server will control and will deal with all the devices asking that this credential, is it allowed or not? And just in case it was allowed, it's allowed for privilege limit of level what exactly. This is only one big usage of the AAA server or the AAA protocol. But deep inside, what happens is that what happens just when a AAA server receives the request and sends the reply. I said that it's either will grant or not, and just in case it does grant, for what privilege. So the sentence of grant such credentials or not is called authentication. So delete the word grant and say authenticate. So this AAA server will authenticate this username and password or those credentials to access this specific device in your network. So the first A of the AAA is called authentication. Authentication verifies the credentials that you have, and this is about contacting the AAA server to check the eligibility of those credentials. Are they eligible to access this device or not? So authentication happens between the device that someone wants to access it and the AAA server asking those credentials want to ask me, are they eligible or not? So the first A function on this AAA server is about either to authenticate those credentials to access the device or not. If they are not authenticated, then that's it. We are done. You are not allowed here. Not welcome. I'm really sorry, but try again. Maybe you will be granted in the future. But if it was authenticated, then we will go to the second A, which is it's authenticated for or maybe until what level of privilege or for what level of privilege to configure or to change the device or navigate inside this device. And this is where we will jump or travel to the second A, which is authorization. So yes, those credentials are authenticated to access this device, but at what level? So at what authorization they are authorized? Those credentials, those credentials are authorized to do what inside me as a switch or as a router, as a network device communicating with the AAA server and asking it. So the authorization, which is the second A, will determine or determines the credential powers, what can it do and what it cannot do. So this is by contacting happens by contacting with about it's all about contacting the AAA server to check the privilege or the privileges of those credentials. So yes, they are allowed or they are authenticated to access the device with a privilege of 15 of doing everything. This is done, or this 15 is mentioned by the second A. And now you as a username trying to access a device, which is me, you are authenticated to access, but authenticated at what level of authorization or what level of privilege? Authorization will reply with level of privilege of 15 to do everything. Okay, so you are now welcomed with a complete golden badge to access my network. Come in to the device, to this specific device. The third A and step number 3 is applied, or it starts after the authentication and authorization happens. You see, so they are related and they are happen sequentially. By first there is an authentication. Just in case authentication happens, we jump to the authorization, and after authorization is confirmed, we will go to the third A, which will be accounting. And accounting is all about two main things. Number one, to determine some limitations regarding this guy, like it's allowed to maybe do such things or not, or maybe it's not really limiting, like don't understand limiting like configuring or not configuring, showing such thing or not. It's not really like the limitation of the authorization. It's not about limiting the power. It's about like accounting does limit your access. Okay, accounting is about, let's say, one of the main and biggest things that accounting do limits for your credentials is how much you are allowed to stay inside this device for one session. So you are limited to stay online in this device. Okay, you are granted to access, you are authenticated, you are authorized for privilege number 15, but accounting says that you are allowed to stay in online in this session that you have just logged in for only 1 hour, only 60 minutes. So this is the limitation of accounting. Some other things that accounting does is it does calculates statistics, and you can later review all the statistics of all the types of the third party or the other, the other parties or the end devices that are accessing this specific device or all of the devices in your network, and they are privileged, how much they are staying in the device, what are they configuring, they are only showing or they are editing, they are rebooting, etc. So big statistics about everything that everyone has does to all your devices. So this is what accounting does. Basically, this is only AAA, just a concept, because the blueprints of Cisco is about differentiate the concept of AAA, the AAA, between them. What is the difference between each one of them concept or purpose in the network or for the device? So now you know that they are related. Authentication is a must. This is how you grant your device and credentials to access your device. Authorization is a must also. You cannot get rid of authorization once you use authentication, because yes, he is welcomed, but at what privilege? Accounting is not a must, because he can just get in and have infinite access of anything and never record it, and that's it. It's not really something mandatory. It's useful, it's very useful, but it's not something mandatory. So you can make use of authentication and authorization, and they are a must, but you can get rid of accounting if you maybe you just don't want to configure it, and just in case you want to configure it, then it's better to your network and for your statistics informations and recordings for the history. So that's it. This is only the differentiation between them. When establishing, maybe in the CCNP exam or in other vendor CCNAs, you will notice you will notice other things, other two important things. Let me just mention them before I finish chapter 5 in 1 minute. So AAA server, when I say a AAA server, what happens inside this server, you need to apply an application using protocols of a AAA protocol, a server AAA protocol. And those actually right now are only two protocols. The first one is called TACAX Plus, and the second one is called Radius. In the CCNP exam, you will know the differences between them. Some of them using like encrypted, some others unencrypted, some of them is for such protocols, others are not, some of them are Cisco proprietary, others are not, etc. So this is number one. So inside the server you will install one of those protocols, and just in case you had switches in your network, inside each switch you need to enable 802.1x protocol, so that this protocol will carry the tags and the frames of the AAA messages and frames traveling and navigating around our network. So this is not really the concept of your study, the TACAX plus Radius or 802.1x, but just a simple information in case you have heard about them when you study further studying or advanced studying for AAA. This is the end of chapter 5. Finally, I have no idea just why it took all of those days of recording. Other chapters maybe were recorded in 2 or 3 days at a maximum. This chapter is really coming in a coincidence with disasters that I have right now in my timing and my work. But anyway, so this is the end of chapter 5. This is the end of all the security fundamentals. These are not advanced security or hacking or such, but not evil ethical hacking or anything. This is only the security fundamentals. I believe they were 14 videos so far. Yes, this is number 69. In the upcoming week, I'll start recording the chapter 6, starting from video number 70. I think we will reach about 90 videos, because before people are asking on the YouTube how much videos will this course be. Sometimes I answer them that's it might reach 80, but I think we will cross 80, because chapter 6 is a big chapter of wireless. It has like maybe 8 main subjects. Some of them are about theoretical side, others are about practical sides and labs on wireless devices. You should perform labs because it says so in the blueprints. So we will do our best in chapter 6, and after that the final chapter of automation and programmability in chapter 7. So I hope that all of this was informative for you. I hope that you did not waste your time with this video at all. It was all of useful for you. I hope so. Just in case you have any concern or query regarding this video or any other thing regarding this channel material, just comment down below in the video of our channel. You can also subscribe our channel, and that will be generous from you, and liking the video also. And that's it. Hope to see you in chapter 6, and goodbye for now.